She's 41. She falls asleep fine. It's 3 in the morning, that's the problem. Wide awake, heart going, brain flipping through a to-do list nobody asked for. She's more anxious than she used to be, shorter fuse. Her cycles have gone a little haywire, so she asks for help, and she gets the tour. Maybe cut the caffeine. Maybe it's stress. Maybe it's just, your age. Nobody in that room said the word progesterone. Because somewhere along the way, we decided progesterone was the pregnancy hormone. And once you're not trying to get pregnant, medicine acts like you're done with it. Now, if you've watched the last couple of episodes, you've heard me hammer one point until it bled. A progestin is not a progesterone. The synthetic lookalikes, the Proveras of the world, are not the same molecule your body makes. Good. We've slammed that door. This episode is the other half of that conversation. Not what progesterone isn't, what real, micronized, bioidentical progesterone actually does in a human body. And I'll tell you up front where this is going. It is one of the most useful, most underprescribed hormones I work with for women at literally every age. And it barely has anything to do with periods. Same deal as always. This is education, not a miracle, and not individual medical advice. I'll give you the honest caveats too. Start with the name, progesterone, progestation, literally for pregnancy. It got its name from the first job we caught it doing, holding a pregnancy, and that name became its whole identity, filed under reproduction, handed off to the OB world. And the quiet assumption baked into that filing system is that once you're done having babies, this hormone's job is over. Here's the fact that breaks that tidy little filing system. Progesterone receptors aren't just in the uterus. They're in the brain, the breast, bone, blood vessels, nerves. This is a hormone the body built docking stations for all over the place, which is a strange thing to do for a molecule that's supposedly only about holding a pregnancy. So the name was never wrong, exactly. It was just incomplete. It described the first thing we noticed and stopped there. And medicine has been practicing off that half-finished description for the better part of a century. So let's go where almost nobody goes with progesterone, the brain. Because this is the part that would have helped the woman from the top of this video. And it's the part that got left out of her appointment entirely. When you swallow micronized progesterone, your liver does something with it on the very first pass. It converts a chunk of it into a metabolite called allopregnanolone. Hard word, worth knowing. Allopregnanolone acts on the same receptor system in your brain, the GABA system, that your calming, quieting signals run on. It's the brake pedal of the nervous system. So progesterone, by way of that metabolite, is quietly a calming, anxiety-easing, sleep-supporting hormone. And here's a distinction that matters. On sleep, melatonin helps you fall asleep. It starts the process. Progesterone helps you stay asleep. It maintains it through the night. That 3 a.m. wake up, that's often not a melatonin problem. And progesterone isn't a sleeping pill knocking you out cold. It works with your own calming system. It doesn't sedate you into the ground. Now, and this is the part that changes how it has to be prescribed. That brain benefit only happens when you swallow it. Oral. The first pass through the liver is what makes the allopregnanolone. Here's the fork in the road. A troche, or a rapid dissolve tablet, the kind you let melt in your mouth, will get progesterone into your bloodstream just fine. You'll see good levels on a blood test. But it slips past the liver, so it largely skips that conversion. You get the hormone without the same sleep and calm payoff. And a cream you rub on your skin is the worst of both worlds. It barely reaches your bloodstream at all. Good levels in your saliva, poor levels in your blood. so it neither makes the brain metabolite nor reliably gets the hormone where it needs to go. So for the brain, this is one of the only places in hormone therapy where I'll tell you the route isn't a preference. Oral, swallowed, is the whole point. Sit with that. The synthetic progestins, the ones everybody's scared of, don't make this calming metabolite at all. So progesterone makes you moody is, once again, a story about the fake stuff told about the real stuff. This is Iculus. He's not satisfied with the surface answer, and honestly, good, neither should you be. So let's go one level deeper, because this one's worth it. A few years ago, a drug got approved for severe postpartum depression. It was hailed as a breakthrough. The molecule in it? Allopregnanolone. The exact same thing your own body makes, for free, the moment it breaks down natural progesterone. The first one is given as an IV drip, and the reported price came in around $36,000. Then they did it again, a newer one, zuranolone, brand name Zurzuvae, this time a 14-day course of pills. Same idea, a synthetic stand-in for the allopregnanolone your body already makes, priced in the many thousands. And because it's a synthetic version, it carries side effects and cautions that the natural hormone doesn't. Now compare all of that to a compounded progesterone prescription, roughly $30. Same starting molecule. You can't patent something that exists in nature, but you can patent a slightly altered synthetic and put a price like that on it. And here's the kicker Iculus would want me to add. Those drugs are chasing a metabolite that sits one step downstream of progesterone. The actual hormone, the real thing taken orally, works even better because your body makes exactly what it needs from it. Why pay tens of thousands for the middleman when the source is $30? So when a hormone this useful gets dismissed as just the period hormone, ask who benefits from you not knowing what it does. Sometimes the confusion isn't an accident. Sometimes it's just very, very profitable. And I'll say this plainly because I think it matters. Follow the money. Even the big professional menopause societies, the organizations that are supposed to be in women's corner, sit inside a web of industry funding and lobbying. So it's fair to ask why the expensive patented versions of a hormone your body makes for pennies get the endorsements and the attention, while the safe, cheap, bioidentical original get shrugged off as just the period hormone. I'm not saying anyone's twirling a mustache. I'm saying economic incentives quietly shape what your doctor gets taught, and women are the ones who end up paying for it, with their money and with years of feeling unwell for no good reason. Okay, if it's a whole body brain first hormone and not just a pregnancy hormone, then it shouldn't only matter for one narrow window of life. And it doesn't. This is the thing I most want you to hear. I have seen progesterone matter for patients at genuinely every age. Teenagers, women in their 30s and 40s, women in their 70s, 80s, 90s. Let me walk the timeline. The young end, a teenage girl with brutal cycles, a wrecked mood the week before her period, the kind of PMS that's actually running her life. A lot of that is a progesterone story, not a that's just being a woman story. We don't reach for it lightly there, but the physiology is the same physiology. The middle, and this is the big one, perimenopause. Here's the myth I want to kill. Everyone assumes perimenopause means your estrogen has run out. Often, it's the opposite. Early on, estrogen can swing high and erratic, while progesterone is the one that quietly falls off first, because you're not ovulating as regularly. And when progesterone drops and estrogen's still swinging, you get exactly the picture from the top of this video. The anxiety, the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the shorter fuse, the heavier, unpredictable cycles. And here's the part that trips up even well-meaning doctors. A woman can have every symptom of low estrogen, and then her estrogen level comes back high. So she gets handed more estrogen, and she feels worse. Because the problem was never that she was low on estrogen. It was that she was low on the progesterone that's supposed to balance it. The answer there is usually not more estrogen. It's restoring the progesterone. And the far end, the part people find hardest to believe, a woman in her 80s or 90s. Isn't it too late? No, the brain still has GABA receptors at 90. The bones are still remodeling. Research associates natural progesterone with building new bone, actual bone formation, not just slowing the loss, and separately associates the natural form with a lower risk of the diseases we fear in the aging brain than its synthetic cousin. It is never too late to sleep better, feel calmer, and protect the machinery you've still got. Which brings up the objection I hear most, usually from another provider. She had a hysterectomy. She doesn't have a uterus. Why would you give her progesterone? Here's the terminology error hiding inside that objection. If a woman has no uterus, what she doesn't need is a progestin, a synthetic prescribed for one job, protecting the lining of the uterus. Fair enough. No uterus, no lining to protect. But that is a completely different statement from she doesn't need progesterone. Because her brain still has the receptors. Her bones still have them. Her breast tissue, her blood vessels, all still there, uterus or no uterus. The sleep, the calm, the bone, the brain, none of that runs through the uterus. So no uterus, no progesterone, quietly swaps two different words and talks a woman out of a hormone that was never about her uterus in the first place. All right, I need to be direct about something because being polite about it hasn't served patients well. And this is me advocating for you, not scolding you. Progesterone cream, the kind you rub on your skin. I see it all the time. A woman was handed a compounded progesterone cream, told it would help, tried it, felt basically nothing, and quietly stopped. And when she tells me that, my honest reaction is, yeah, because for most of what you needed it to do, that cream can't really work. Two reasons. One, the brain benefit, the sleep, the calm, needs that swallowed first pass we talked about. Rub it on your skin and you skip the conversion, so you skip most of the benefit. Two, and this is the one that actually worries me, when there is a uterus to protect, the research is pretty unforgiving here. A systematic review of dozens of studies found that transdermal progesterone, the cream, did not reliably reach the levels needed to oppose estrogen on the uterine lining. In plain English, the cream can leave the lining unprotected while everyone assumes it's covered. And the quiet danger is that nobody's watching, because a woman on cream often isn't bleeding, so no one goes looking. The problem gets missed precisely because it's silent. So if you're on progesterone cream and it did nothing, you're not crazy and it's not you, it's the delivery. The answer for the brain benefits and for real protection is oral micronized progesterone, the kind you swallow, from someone who understands why the root matters. If whoever gave you the cream didn't explain any of that, that tells you something too. Let me clear the deck of the leftover fears fast, because they all come from the same place, the synthetic progestins, and they get pinned on the real thing. It'll make me gain weight. Real progesterone is weight neutral. If anything, it's a mild diuretic, so it tends to help with fluid, not add it. It made me bloated and moody. That's the fingerprint of a progestin, not progesterone. The real thing reads as mood stabilizing in the trials, not mood wrecking. Notice the pattern across this whole series. Nearly every scary thing you've heard about progesterone is actually a true story about the synthetic, told loudly enough that it's stuck to the real one. So let me bring it home, whoever and whatever age you are. If you're lying awake at 3 in the morning, wired and anxious, cycles all over the place, Or you're decades past your last period and everyone's told you your hormone chapter is closed. Understand that progesterone is just for pregnancy is a filing error, not a fact. And one honest note on testing, because you'll ask. A single progesterone blood level is a genuinely weak test. It bounces around and it's easy to overread. This is the hormone where I most want you to hear the through line of everything I teach. We treat the person and the symptoms, not a number some lab decided was normal. How you sleep, how you feel, how your cycle behaves, that's the data that matters. I'm not telling you to go demand progesterone. I'm telling you that you're not pregnant, so you don't need it, is not a good enough reason for it to have never come up. You're allowed to ask. You're allowed to work with someone who actually reads the research. If this reframed progesterone for you, if you now hear the period hormone and think, no, the brain hormone, then it did its job. That's the whole point of this series. Take the fear and the folklore out of the conversation so you can make a real decision with someone who reads the data. Next time, we stay in the brain, but we follow a different thread. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember, question the dogma, not your own body.
If you're interested in exploring more of these incredible connections from hormone optimization to metabolic psychiatry and regenerative medicine, be sure to subscribe and follow for more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching this Within You Health production.